So I'm noticing that my facial expressions are really, I look confused. I think I need to work on looking more composed and a lot less. There's a lot of external processing. I don't think it looks professional. I did a little bit of transition, or sorry, not transitioning, but using my space. Um, I like that. I'm still, I don't think I'm portraying full thoughts. I don't think it's clear of who I'm talking to at times. Maybe if I think I'm afraid of using pronouns, and I think maybe I'm gonna try to work on that a little more. Maybe if I have more pronouns, maybe overuse pronouns and see how that works. I think that's why maybe my thoughts aren't so complete. I think what I'm struggling with, and maybe this is something I can talk to my mentor too, there's some words that I decide to drop, and then there's other words that I don't drop. I think what's happening there is I'm not sure which are appropriate. They just said an intense fear, and I just signed fear, have fear. I dropped the intense, but now that I think about it, I mean, that might be important, right? Um, so that's something I think I want to talk to my mentor about and just sort of like think about for myself. What words, and maybe actually now that I'm thinking about it, maybe if I just do like a transliteration, like word for word for word, I don't know if that maybe make it fuller thoughts, and then later I think I'm trying to jump too much into English ASL, which is fine, but I'm not fluent. There's still concepts that I'm missing. So I think that's maybe something I'm going to practice more for my work, and then hopefully, you know, slightly change it to ASL. I don't want to make that into a habit, but I don't want to keep dropping information. I think there's so many things that are still being dropped. There's a bit of mouth that I'm doing. I think that's part of my external processing, so I want to become more aware of that. What does a professional look like to me? I don't think they're, moving their mouth so much. Just want to look more confident and more composed. I also noticed that there's a bit of a hand drop that I do. It looks a little maybe sloppy. I want to make it more. I think my signing is clear. I think it's, in my opinion, crisp in a way that I don't think it doesn't look like I'm mumbling. Um, but I think after I sign, I'll just drop my hands and it just looks lazy, or maybe that can really confuse the consumer. So I really want to be a little more careful with that. So that's something I definitely want to work on from now on. I don't know. I think there should be like a little bit of a head shaking too. I think I want to work on that too. I don't know if that's really an appropriate thing. Maybe I can talk to my mentor about that too. Like what's too much of moving my head? And I think that's also based on the external processing. I'm also trying to watch, am I breathing? That was something I really wanted to work on for this work sample. I want to make sure that I'm breathing. I don't know if I can tell if I'm breathing or not, but I think there were moments that I was feeling very stressed, and that was also another goal of mine. Also based with me managing my stress, I wanted to also have more control of my faces, because I show my stress in my face, which I still am still doing here. Also another goal was really trying to picture. I really wanted to picture it. So maybe I was just setting too many goals. Mainly, I just wanted to make sure that I was breathing. Hopefully that would relax me a little more. But then I'm also working really hard to visualize. So maybe I should have just tried to visualize. I think that was something I really worked on in this piece. I kind of forgot about the breathing, and but I was working really hard to visualize it. I'm trying to figure out how can I create this picture and let go of those words. Because I don't think I'm breathing. And I looking at this practice, I can tell that my main in my brain was making sure that I can picture this. But looking at it, I still think I mentioned a few things, and maybe I'm still again setting up too many goals. But I want to see if I can maybe focus on one thing. Take bites with a little spoon, as Sarah says. Yeah, I'm still doing this lip thing. I really need to make sure I work on that a little bit. Something I think I can also work on is listing more. I think that would make my interpretation a lot clearer and organized. I'm constantly naming things, and I think it's mostly because I'm not too sure on how to use this. I think I'm too nervous, but again, I need to work on trying to make mistakes. So I really want to make sure I work on that a little more. Interesting, he said, if people were more educated about education, and I remember that moment, I missed it, but I wanted to make a decision, and it was actually completely off. Instead, I said we should discuss the topic more. It's really interesting, and it was actually something that I talked to my mentor about, is I'm listening and I'm rendering, but I don't, it's so hard. I mean, the multitasking, right? But and the trusting the gut, but so he's been giving me a lot of short-term memory exercise, but still I find that a little frustrating that I'm listening and I'm just like, I'm hearing this, but it's not sticking, or but I do want to say I made that decision. It was not right, but I tried to make that quick decision. So I think my trying to make decisions a lot faster is happening, and that has been something that I've been working on, is even though I still feel afraid of making mistakes, but I think in this video I tried to just, put out what I can. And then there's a clip towards the end where I actually kind of pause. I'm trying to see, am I breathing there? That would have probably been a really good opportunity to breathe. I was saying, okay, I completely missed the point of this. I'm not sure what he's talking about. Oh, I look so tense. I'm trying to wait on a point, but I'm not breathing, and I wish I was breathing more, and it's something that I also am trying to be, or practice, is just being aware of what I'm doing in that moment. I'm catching a little bit of it, and it's getting better. For example, again, I mentioned I remember thinking, I'm trying to visualize this. I'm working really hard to visualize this. Maybe just, yeah, it's the stress a little bit. That's another thing. I think I'm not trusting my gut when I work. It's interesting. I kept changing immigration. Um, I actually did another practice with the Nick. My mentor, he lent it to me to practice, and I kept. Uh, I signed immigration, but for some reason, at one point in the interpretation, I did this. A part of me, I wasn't sure what was right or what was wrong, but I can tell, excuse me, that I'm unsure of that sign. And of course, maybe, I don't know, maybe commit to something. But my gut was, point of it is really that my gut was telling me this, but somewhere in my brain I thought, no, it's this. But my gut is telling me, it's just, I need to also, that's something I'm trying to have in mind. Just trusting my gut. There's also a point where, and I discussed this a little bit with my mentor, and I watched it before I did my tap about the whole trusting my gut. I heard 130, but for some reason I heard 130, or I didn't make the connection that it was 130. So I went 100 and then I went 300. So 100, 300 years ago, blah, blah, blah. But my brain was saying 130. I should have somehow made that connection, and I just trusting my gut and breathing. I'm not breathing, and it's something that I've been practicing when I work. I'm trying to breathe. I think if I took deep breaths while I'm working, it would probably compose me a lot more. But I think that is it. Thank you.